You can walk through an RV show and see all the beautiful bright lights and shiny objects when you're looking at these wonderful RVs, but what really matters is how they were made and everything that goes into them. Today is video number 2 in How to Not Buy a Lemon series, and we're going to get into it starting off with the roofs. When it comes to roofs, there are many different types. So you can have the rubber roofs, which are your EPDM and your TPO. You can have fiberglass. You can have aluminum. You can also have a molded piece of fiberglass that goes over top, or you can have something like PVC, a composite type roof. You want to understand the roof type that you have so that you understand how to properly care for it. Most of the roofs have an underlying piece of plywood under them. So that is the part that gets rotten or that can get water damaged. And what you're looking for is you want to pay special attention to any area that has a hole on the roof. I'm talking about skylights, roof vents, different like fans or your plumbing vents. People that put solar systems on their roof, there's holes that are created for that. So each of these components has to have sealant around it. So depending on how well the sealant was applied and how well it's lasting and has been maintained, that is going to determine if the under layer of it got rotten or somehow got damaged. I just did an inspection where I was going around a roof so that I could seal up anything with cracks or holes, and I noticed that in the rubber roof there was a snag in it, and it was just big enough for water to get in and rot out that entire section of their roof. So in order to get that replaced, they'd have to tear off the entire rubber membrane, and they'd have to replace the plywood that was underneath and then recover the roof. It is very time consuming and very, very expensive. So rubber roofs are probably the least expensive route for manufacturers to build. So if you wanted to get something a little more quality, you might look at getting a fiberglass roof or a molded fiberglass cap. That's why people like to go for things like Scamp trailers, Bigfoot, like those type of RVs, they have that molded fiberglass on the roof. My Lazy Days has a painted aluminum roof. So it's a very good sturdy roof, but still I can get water in there, and I did. And the reason I did was because I put in this separate Wi-Fi extender thing, and one of the areas where the sealant went, it cracked and developed a little hole right where a screw was, and it came down into my closet. Well, the day that I found it, which was like the day it rained, and I literally found it that day, I went up on that roof and I sealed that point of entry. So no matter what kind of roof type you have, you can still get water intrusion. So how it's been maintained is super, super critical, and you always want to make sure that you have it inspected or you inspect it yourself to make sure that there are no signs of prior water damage or holes where water could have gotten in. Number 2, let's talk about the slides. There are different slide types. You can have the very common Schwintek slide system, and you can have a cable type slide. Those are made for more lightweight slides. And then you can have big heavy duty slide systems that are going to be your through frame and your hydraulic. Different RVs have different slide systems in them. I have seen some big slide systems using a Schwintek. Now I also tend to see more leaks and water damaged flooring with Schwintek slide systems. I see that because I feel like there's just areas where water can get in, where the screws are and that rail is along the side of it, and it's just an area of easy access for water. So you have to keep up with maintenance on any slide that you have, and especially with the Schwintek. If you haven't seen the video that I created with Darren from My RV Works, he really suggests maintaining them by lubricating them and clearing debris. So you want to make sure that whatever type of slide system that you have, that you're checking with the manufacturer and you are caring for them the way they should be. Now, if you're thinking about getting a slide that is more quality, you are going to find the through frame slides, you're going to see the hydraulic slide systems, and you're going to see those on a higher end, more quality type of RV. Now, to repair them, you're going to be paying more money as well. So a lot of times you may want to get a more quality item, but you also have to remember that with those, you might also be paying a higher price tag to get them repaired. You want to understand the quality and the type of maintenance that is required for each slide system. You will have some of the cable type slide systems just aren't the best quality and they tend to fray and break. And then if you have the Schwintek where the shoe breaks and it gets debris in it, and those fail a lot of times. So understand, if you do take care of these things, you'll probably have a better outcome, but also know going in that if you want to have a nice big RV with a big slide room, look for a through frame or hydraulic slide system, because then you're going to have something that is meant to handle that type of weight. Whenever you're looking at a slide floor, you want to look for areas of where water intrusion came in, and you want to look for that swelling of the wood. You're going to see that especially along the edges of it. That's where I find it most commonly. And then just look for water stains and then feel around to see if it's mushy. You can also use a moisture meter to detect if there's any moisture in the underneath the slide at that time. But even if it's dried out and created a rot, and it might not show up on the moisture meter, you can still see the rot there. And then eventually over time, it won't be able to handle the weight that's on that slide, and your floor could end up opening up. So you don't want that to happen. And slides can be costly. They can be between $5,000 and $10,000 for repair. So you want to make sure that you have your slide and your slide floor inspected before you purchase an RV. And trust me, that's a huge cost and a huge amount of money that you don't want to have to spend. Number 3, let's talk about the frames and the whole foundation of the RV. When you're looking at travel trailers and fifth wheels, you want to look for any type of frame flex. You want to look for any type of crack in the frame. So you can look underneath and you can look at all of that, the entire part of the frame, and just look for tiny little cracks at the joints. I also notice around sidewalls that I will find more commonly cracks where there is a slide, and right at the top of the slide at the corner, there will be a crack that goes right up to where the roof is. And sometimes I see it there. And then you can go around to the actual front cap area and you can just look all around the walls, look all around for any types of cracking that you can see. You want to note if you see any type of cracking, and this is going to be an indication that there's something wrong with the frame itself and the whole structure of the RV. Number 4 is appliances, and this is a big deal for me. So a lot of times when I'm looking at an RV, it's not so much that the RV was built wrong from the manufacturer, it's that the appliances don't work correctly. So you want to test out each appliance and make sure that it works the way it's supposed to. And I also want you to think about, before you even go out and purchase an RV, I want you to think about the type of RVing that you're going to do. Because in video number 1, we talked about that, because when it comes to appliances, you want to pick the right appliances for you. If you're going to be primarily a boondocker, you don't want to go with a 12-volt refrigerator, because you are going to use up all your battery just running the refrigerator. You also want to think about a tankless versus a tank type water heater. A tankless water heater is going to use up more of your water. There's a third thing that I want you to think about, and that is, are you planning on going up in altitude while you travel? If you're going to be going up to the mountains of Colorado and staying at 10,000 feet, you want to make sure that your systems are going to work the way they should, because not all tankless water heaters can work above 5,000 feet. You need to check with the manufacturer of that appliance, and you need to find out at what point does it stop working correctly, or does it need some type of repair. There are some tankless types of water heaters that you can just make a switch on the back side of it, or you might have to have some type of adapter. Others are capable of handling anything above 5,000 feet up to 8,000, 10,000 feet, but you want to check with that appliance manufacturer and find out. There's so much misinformation out there about which tankless water heaters work above 5,000 feet, that I decided that for this video, I want you to each check with whatever type that you have in the RV you're looking at. I want you to check with that manufacturer and see, because one year could differ from the next. It's just like anything, it depends on the year, the make, and the model. So I want you to check on that before you purchase it, and also make a decision if you are going to be in elevations higher. If you are going to be a boondocker, you may want to skip getting a tankless altogether and just go with a tank type. So these are things that you need to think about. And then when you're looking at the RV, you need to make sure that all these things work on electric and gas. If it's a 3-way refrigerator, you want to make sure that it works on 12-volt, on gas, and on full 110 electric. So you want to check all of the areas that are possible for these things. You want to make sure that the air conditioner works, runs for a while, doesn't show signs of leaking, doesn't show any signs of failure. You want to see that it works and it blows cold and it has a good delta T. And you can find all that out if you hire an inspector. We go through all of these things. You also want to make sure that the furnace is going to work correctly. All the appliances, you want to check them out thoroughly. You first want to pick out all the appliances that are going to be appropriate for your style of camping. And then you want to have your inspector go through and make sure that all these things work the way they should. And then you won't have to worry about having a lemon. Number 5, let's talk about the interior fit and finish. This is a really big deal because when I'm doing an inspection, I notice on so many older used RVs that are inexpensive that they don't have real wood cabinetry. They have something like MDF. And what happens is the minute it gets water on it, it starts to puff out and swell. So you will have permanently damaged cupboards all along the bottom of the floor where, say, there was a leak at the sink or anywhere else. The problem is that stuff swells and it can't be fixed. You're just going to have to deal with swollen wood. Now, yes, you can get into a less expensive RV if you get these cheaper parts, but just understand what you might possibly have to deal with later. And when you're looking at RVs, you want to look for things like swollen cabinets or whatever, and then you know that they're not made well. So think about that. Do you want to have solid wood cabinetry? Or are you okay with something like MDF that is possibly not going to last, and as soon as it gets water damaged, it's going to swell? You want to look at that with the countertops too. Do you want solid surface countertops, or do you want some kind of laminate? You just want to think about those kind of things when you're looking at the RV. They can always look pretty in the beginning, and when you're first taking a look at it, you can think, oh, this is really nice, but think about down the road what could happen if there was any type of leak or stain or whatever. How will that type of material last? How will it be affected? And then when you're looking at the walls, there are times that I go into RVs and I could just push through walls. I could just knock them down. It feels like I could just flick them and they'd fall over. But that's because they have cheaper products and they're just built that way. So like I told you before, I can't tell you that every type of manufacturer is quality throughout their brands and their models and their years. When I did an inspection the other day, I had 2 separate Forest Rivers, 2 completely different build qualities. One had cheaper parts and one had more expensive parts. I did a Thor the other day that has notoriously, when I've looked at Thors in the past, I've seen a lot of issues with cabinetry and different things because they had MDF. And then I looked at an older one and it didn't have any of that because it was made completely different back in 2013 and it looked completely different than they do now. So you could have a difference based on the year, based on the model number, based on the manufacturer, how they build it. You want to look into this prior. And when you're looking at floor plans and you're making a decision, think of all those different areas, because if you have a better quality RV with better quality parts, then it's probably going to last a little bit longer. And then you just need to keep up the maintenance, because no matter what type of RV that you decide to get, no matter what the manufacturer is, what the year is, what the model number, I can tell you the best RV out there with all the best, and you can pay $500,000, but it's not going to be worth anything if you don't maintain it. That is the most important thing. And you want to make sure, if you're getting used RV, in order to not buy a lemon, that you're getting one that somebody else took care of really well. So just to recap, I want you to really pay attention to all of the areas of the RV. You want to look at the roofs and the sealant. You want to pay attention to the whole exterior. You want to know about the appliances and will they work for you? And then all of the fit and finish. It's really important. All these things are key into not purchasing a lemon. The most important part of it, though, is, has it been maintained? If it's brand new from the manufacturer, you want to know what type of RV, what this whole RV was made of, and then still get it inspected to make sure that everything works correctly. But if it's a used RV, you want to know how it's been maintained. So if you catch these 5 things, you are already way ahead of everyone else on not buying a lemon. Again, I want to reiterate the most important thing, and that is how well an RV has been maintained. It is critical that somebody took care of their RV and that you do too. If you don't maintain that RV, even if it's brand new, fresh out of the factory, and you don't go check that roof and look at that sealant, then you're going to have a lemon. You're going to be the one that has the lemon that nobody wants to buy. So please take care of your RV, check these 5 things, and you'll be well on your way to getting an RV that is not a lemon. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will have one more video in the series on how to not buy a lemon, and I will see you guys next week.